Now at the very beginning here, I have these 2 tracks that are sound effects, and these are used for when the door in the video opens, and I'll show that to you. I'm going to bring up my video window here, and you can see the door kind of slam open and hear it with those sound effects. Let's hear that again. And so maybe I want that to echo a little more throughout this imaginary landscape. Now there are 2 primary ways to deal with time-based effects in Ableton. If you're using a more traditional DAW like Pro Tools or Logic, the professional workflow to that is to put the reverb and delay on a return track and then use sends to send the audio through those return tracks, and that helps cut down on the amount of computer processing power you need. It allows different tracks to share effects and everything else. And Ableton has that same workflow. If I go down here to my send A and send B, these are set up by Ableton by default in every session. And then in order to send your audio there, you just have to crank up the send levels. Right now they're set to -infinity. And for instance, if I isolate this sound effect, and I'll crank up my send A, and now that sound has reverb on it. If I open up my loop, it's a little easier to hear. If I crank up my send B, then you will hear the delay. I can increase the feedback to get more delay instances. So that's one way to handle time-based effects in Ableton, to use the traditional send-return routing. If you need to add more return tracks, you can do that under Create, Insert Return Track, and it gives you a C return right there, and then it also brings up another control on each track for the C send level. And you can put whatever plugins you want on there. That is one way to do it. There is another way in Ableton that I've seen a lot of producers use, and I myself do it this way a lot of the time, and that is putting the time-based effects directly on the track and using the wet-dry mix knob of the plugins. Now, in a program like Pro Tools, I almost never do that. I don't know if Ableton handles the plugin processing better, or perhaps their plugins just don't take up as much processing power. I'm not sure. I just know that I tend to put reverb directly on the track. And so here this big plastic sound effect actually already has some reverb on it, and I would adjust that wet dry knob there. If I make this totally dry, it has some tail already. I'll increase this up to about 73% here. And the key is to always keep in mind the video, right? You're looking at this landscape. It's some kind of futuristic alien landscape. It looks like they're outdoors, a lot of hard surfaces. There would be ringing, assuming there was air. You know, there would be a lot of ringing sound. This sound effect doesn't have anything on it right now. If I play it, it just sounds like this. But to put the reverb and delay on, I would probably go with delay first. And then you can sculpt the sound quite a lot with this plugin. I'm going to delink these and maybe take the sync off. And now we're dealing with time in milliseconds instead of musical divisions. And maybe I want that to be a little shorter and that to be a little longer than the left. I will crank the feedback up and maybe bring it down to about 30% wet. That's that kind of metallic-y repeating, quick repeating sounds. And now I would add reverb to that. Just double click. It goes right in next to it. And I can adjust the decay time, the size, the quality. I'll choose the medium quality. And maybe longer decay time. Maybe not 7 seconds, maybe 2 seconds. And then if I wanted to, I can change the order of that. And now instead of the delay being reverbed, the reverb is having delay put on it. Maybe we can make that a lot wetter. Make that wetter. There we go. And again, the whole thing to keep in mind is this layer of sound. So now we have the ambient background noise with both door opening sound effects. And we're starting to build our scene audio here. In the next video, we're going to be using panning, automation, and some creative delay techniques to enhance our scene even more.